I'll tell you what, guys, feels like it's been a year since we've done a show.
I know, it's only been 2 weeks.
Right?
Feels a lot longer. Brittany, Braggers and Brews are convinced that you hate them.
Who?
Why is that?
The guys at Baggers and Brews, because they've been on with us twice, and she's been
never been
MIA.
on either
both
one of
times.
them. Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
I was just out of town.
Okay.
No,
We'll let it slide. Anyway, everybody, welcome back to Five Dirty Bikers Podcast. We have our last guest of 2023 here. Very special one, returning guest, John Tagley from J.E.T. Film. Welcome back, dude. It's good to see you. It's gonna be even more impressive to hear about this story that you've got going on, because there's a lot of people that probably don't know about your film. We've been preaching it the last couple of weeks since its release. Now, John, tell us a little bit about this film, where you got the inspiration, and just go ahead and take it away.
The inspiration, I don't even know. There was no one particular thing. It was just doing something that I found that there was a hole in the market.
Mm-hmm.
There was a hole in the industry. Like, nobody has ever done this before, taken a Cholo and made it a performance Cholo, because they're known to be slow. They're known to be, it's basically like a science experiment on wheels. And, people, they always look at it like, like I would always win if I raced this bike. So I'm thinking, all right, well, let me just build this giant engine. And then it kind of snowballed from there. Once the engine started being ripped out and, we got the plans together, then I'm like, all right, let me take this a step further and start doing chassis mods and make this thing as light as possible, make it handle as good as it possibly can with the mods that are in place that have to stay to make it a Cholo. So that's when I started looking into how do you lighten a bike, without like, ripping the frame apart, without affecting the way it looks. And a lot of this stuff I just made up as I went. The battery, everybody knows how to, you can change out a battery to lithium ion. And, in my case, I saved 18 pounds alone on the battery. But all the while, I knew I wanted to make a film on this. So we started filming like right from the very start. Actually, at the start, it was just me. And then I had my team of, cameramen once the build was pretty much like 99% complete. I was just doing, more lightning, more chassis stuff. And then we just did all the B-roll, which is all the burnouts that you see.
There was a lot of them.
A lot of burnouts.
Yeah.
How many tires?
All right. So dead ass, 2 tires, 2 rear tires.
Okay.
And I probably could have done it with 1, but I picked up a nail, and you can actually see in some of the B-roll footage that during a couple of burnouts, we'll see a spark like jump off, and that's the nail. Like, that's that night. So the nail went in, but it was leaking about like 1 PSI every 20 minutes. So it wasn't too bad. So we managed to salvage the rest of that night and get more burnouts. We tried making the spark like kind of part of it. We tried doing some slow motion stuff to make it look cool, but we always shoot at night. So slow motion stuff is kind of tough at night.
So the film is called Mine's the Black One. You call it a long form docufilm. And everybody, when you're done listening to this show, if you haven't yet, go to YouTube, look up J.E.T. Film, and watch this movie. It's a movie, and it looks like a movie.
The production value is extremely high.
It's as good as you're going to see on YouTube.
Yeah,
hands down. Hands down.
So, John,
go ahead. Sorry.
Did you do a storyboard as you were filming? Did you have an idea?
I was going to ask this too,
yeah,
Ryan.
That's a great question.
It was not an official storyboard. No, I basically just had notes on what I wanted to do, and basically, kind of follow the timeline overall. But I did want to do that 18 months ago shot, which, it took us so long to make the film that it actually started out like 9 months ago. And then by the time I got to the end of the film, end of editing, I had to move it all the way to 18 months because it was really that far, back. But yeah, so it stays in time, except for those flashback shots. And yeah.
The fact that you didn't do a storyboard is super impressive as far as I'm concerned, because it watches when you watch it, it views like you had to have done a storyboard because of it. Just everything is exactly in sync like you would imagine it to be.
Well, I just followed the story itself. That was, I guess you could call that the storyboard, like an unofficial storyboard. I knew the story because, I had just lived it. And so, keeping things in time, I knew exactly what events happened. And
for sure. Because, you're holding down a job, you got a family, and you're doing all this with whatever extra time you have. Yeah. So it makes sense to do it that way to, as you're filming it, that's how it's getting laid down. Yeah. But everybody, you you absolutely did. And you knocked it way out of the park. And I knew when we had you on the first time that you were going to do great things, and you're already doing great things. And this video proves the whole thing. Now, guys, you got to check this out. The final numbers on this bike, and tell us what kind of bike it is again.
It's a 2002 Road King Classic.
Right.
Twin cam.
Yep.
88 inch.
It started out as an 88.
Yeah, it started. Now it's a 131R.
So the R is unofficial, right? It's just, that was my flavor because
the fucking movie made it official. Jesus.
It's fucking official, man.
Some people were like, well, what's with the R? What makes it an R? I'm like, well, because the way we designed it and built it, it is of race spec. So I'm like, you know what? I'm throwing the R in there. Fuck it. Because
it means really fast.
Yeah. People are like, what does it stand for? Like, my daughter's name is Reese. Does it stand for Reese? I'm like, it stands for race. It's a race bike now.
Just ridiculous. That's what it stands for. Ridiculous.
There you go.
So listen to these numbers, everybody. 149.04 horsepower. 159.25 foot-pounds of torque. That is deemed a beast.
Yeah, that's a fucking monster. And the cool thing is he stayed true to the Cholo style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he didn't. There is an asterisk to that, though. So I only was able to get that 149, 159 number by actually straying from the path of the Cholo style.
It was one item you strayed from.
One item, but that one item I think was enough. So if somebody came up to me and said, yo, I got a Cholo, but it has a 2 and a 1, I'd be like, well, I guess it's
fuck
kind of a Cholo. But
all you got to say is you want to race, motherfucker. I mean,
right.
We could settle this on the track.
Hold on, I just got to change my pipe out.
Yeah, no, I thought of that too.
So I like how you started this film because you see, I mean, at the beginning is the bike's done in its entirety, right?
The opening shot,
because it's in the cemetery, and you see the drone coming over. Is the bike completed at that point?
I mean, yes. Okay. I mean, I'm still working on it right now. Like the bike is ripped apart.
Yeah, bikes are never done. Yeah, they're never done.
You could say yes, it was completed by then. That opening shot.
That's what I loved was you weren't making people want to stick around for a big reveal at the end. You pulled out what you got out of your pants and said, "Here's what I'm working with," right. And you're along for the whole ride, bro.
That's it. Well, that's kind of like that's how you typically open up the films. I show the completed, thing that the film is about, and then I almost call it like the James Bond intro. Because if you guys ever saw a James Bond film, it's always this wild and crazy intro, and then they pull back, and then it goes into the actual story behind, what led up to that point. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the way I did it.
Yeah.
So you said you went through 2 sets of tires, and we all know because we've all watched the movie. There was a lot of burnouts. Now I want to know. I'm a little bit older than you, and a couple of those times I shit my pants just watching it. So I can't imagine that there wasn't at least a couple times. I remember one time you almost looked like you high-sided. I mean, your tire broke. Your tire broke loose, and I was like, oh shit, he's gonna high-side that motherfucker, and then you got it back straight. So. So there was no streaks left in your shorts after any of these burnouts that you did.
No, there was definitely some streaks after a couple of two in particular that I remember. But yeah, I mean, that it'll get away from you. And where we film, we film there for a couple reasons. One, because nobody lives there. It's like this industrial complex. It is public roads, we'll say, in Mexico, wink. But but nobody lives there, so nobody is there to complain. And the people that I'm with, they actually work right there in the area, so they actually know the one cop that's on duty, and they don't seem to care whatsoever.
Kind of like the people in the cemetery.
Right. Yeah. Nobody to complain.
Nobody to complain.
And that place that you're filming looks gangster as fuck too, so that's probably the other good reason to film there.
Absolutely, it's got that real like street vibe to it. Just everything is dingy and dusty, and it's an industrial place. So you got all these trucks running all over the place, and the streets are smooth. So it actually really works out if you're going to shoot that kind of a film where you just want to do nonstop burnouts without smoking up your tire, and because the tire just breaks. It's almost like what you said, like a polished cement, where it's pretty smooth. So, I mean, second, third gear spin it's no problem.
Well, with 150 horsepower, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right. That's true. Especially on a 150 rear tire.
Yeah. Shouldn't be that much of a problem.
No, it makes it easier.
You had me, John. I mean, obviously, I knew what I was getting myself into with the cinematography and all that. But I've been criticized on more than one occasion by using the word performance anytime I describe my motorcycle. So they dubbed it the performance-looking bagger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I
saw that the Spirit Halloween bag thing.
Yeah. And so you dropped this performance Cholo. And I swear to God, like I'm like 89 minutes into it, and I'm like, this motherfucker has been calling this a performance bike this whole time. And then you drop the definition at the end, and I'm like, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Here you go.
Yeah. The definition was supposed to be actually at the beginning, but I ended up changing it at the 11th hour.
Yeah. No, it did. It rang true because the thing that I really liked when you did that was you said, doing this motorcycle and maintaining the Cholo aesthetic, because in my brain I'm like, well, you could get rid of that air ride and drop a whole bunch of weight. Like I'm like building the bike with you, like, man. But then when you defined it as Cholo, right? I mean, that's a defining feature of just about every Cholo bike is that, you know what I mean? They raise and lower. I mean, you know all of that. I was going to ask you though, because I didn't see this. Did you look into carbon fiber for your bags and fenders at all?
I did. So I was actually reading a testimony from one of the guys on the Harley-Davidson King of the Baggers, and I believe it was King of the Baggers. And they said, yeah, we could. No, it was some drag racer. Never mind. It was a drag racer. And he's like, I could spend like $3,000 on carbon fiber bags and drop, like 7 pounds, or I could spend that $3,000 on more performance mods.
Sure.
So, and there's some truth to that. Like, 7, 10 pounds, whatever it is, it'll help. But I tried to do, I forget the math. It's like for every, at that power level and that weight level, for every like 7-ish pounds, it is equivalent to 1 horsepower. So if you can drop 7 pounds, if you can pick up 2 horsepower, you're already ahead of the game.
Sure.
So you might as well just
and you also get to the point of like diminished returns, don't you? Where it's costing so much money at that point to get that 1 horsepower. Is it worth it at that point?
Yeah, right. Well, that's when you talk to the old timers and they know all these old tricks to get that, maybe a fraction of a horsepower. And that's what me and Panhead were kind of doing the whole time, because, everybody knows about big bore kits, and we all know, what cams will make big power. So that's the easy part. But the hard part was the other little things to get those fractions of a horsepower, and then have multiple of those little mods so that they actually they become real power.
It was like indexing the spark plugs. I mean, who in the fuck does that?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody, right.
But did it work?
It's a real thing. It's a real, and if you read about it, they say you can gain about 1% more power. So I'm thinking, all right, well, if we got 140 horsepower, it's 1.4 horsepower
for indexing a spark plug.
That's it. Just turning it to face a certain way. It's so easy. And it costs about $10. I
mean, I know how you could have gotten a lot more horsepower is just using M8. I mean, you went the hard way with
That's So the M8 is like the bane of my existence.
I could tell. I mean, you made that perfectly clear.
There was so much cut out too in the testimony about like how much I loathe the M8s and why it's a great engine. It's 100%. It makes awesome power. It's just, I don't have an M8. So that's kind of why.
Easy power is the thing. It makes easy power. But what you did with the twin cam, I've never seen 150 power. I can't even talk. It's got me so jazzed. 150 horsepower twin cam. I didn't even know it could be done, to be honest.
I've only heard of a twin cam. It was actually, so Revolution Performance, they supplied the cylinders and the pistons. They also did the headwork and the case boring. So they put out something on their Instagram saying, just like whatever, it was just a daily thing. And it happened to be on the 131 twin cam, availability. And I chimed in saying, hey, I just did this. It's awesome. Great power. And somebody else saw that I commented. Turns out this guy did a 131 twin cam and he made, it was like over 170 horsepower. Now,
damn.
I don't know how true it is. It's just what he says. I don't know if the dyno he was on, people can mess with numbers. So you don't truly ever know.
Yeah, I bet he has a 12-inch cock too.
Jesus, Ryan.
That's what it is, right? I mean, some guy called you out and he wants to measure dicks.
I think Ryan lows that, not the M8.
You put it out there. This is the thing to all that. You put it out there, John. You showed all the numbers. You showed all the dyna. You didn't pull any punches. You showed all the fuck ups that you did, which, big respect for, doing things and realizing they didn't work or could be done better. I thought that was amazing because we all do that. We all fuck up in whatever we're doing. Right. But for somebody just to chime in on an Instagram post and say, I have 170 horsepower, it's just like saying you have a 12-inch cock. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Like, prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see
now,
it.
If you can
Actually, I'll take your word for it,
I was going to say, you'll get dick pics all day then.
No, he was cool. We ended up taking it to a private message, and then we started exchanging stuff. And I was asking him, like, how did you get these numbers? And he would give me like little bits of info, but nothing that I could truly use, nothing that was real. So I mean, there are ways to get more power than 150, and basically you're just sacrificing any longevity whatsoever. You can push the timing so far advanced that there's no room for error. If that engine gets too hot, that's it. You're going to have pre-det, and you basically just smoke your motor. But Andy, the way he does it is that he wants to build big power with that safety margin. That way, it's a streetable bike. It's not just.
So your bike's reliable. I mean, you can take it out. It's a daily rider.
Sure.
No problems.
Nope. Well, I mean, it'll leak a little bit of oil, and that's basically the only thing. And it's just a couple drips. I got it down to basically just a couple drips now, with all the breather systems that I put on that bike and little things to help it not piss out oil. I run it about 3/4 of a quart low now. And yet oil still finds its way out. But besides that, it is 100% daily streetable. And then you can go and race somebody.
Is it squirrely? Is it a squirrely ride? It has to be fucking squirrely.
You're talking about just the SM just kicking out?
The power delivery, yeah. It's got to be just insane.
It's totally awesome. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's exactly what I wanted it to be. And that's, I didn't care about a perfect launch. I wanted the bike to actually be fun to ride. And to me, fun to ride is you smoke the rear tire if you want. And that's exactly what it'll do.
I thought I was on the edge of my seat when you were in your buddy's garage and you were like, let's test something out. Let's
pop in the clutch.
Let's pop the clutch out, see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They thought, because it had so much torque, right.
Yeah.
Because it had so much torque that you could just dump the clutch, like basically just totally drop it fully, and that it would probably take off and just start idling down, out of the garage. But it did. I mean, it's still a bike. It's still a clutch dump with no gas.
Right.
I had a Kawasaki KLR do that to me.
It dumped you, Tony?
It did. I was sitting in my driveway and I wasn't paying attention. I had it in gear and I just let go and the fucking thing took off and I backflipped off of it.
Oh man!
And it went right across the street in the neighbor's yard.
Oh, it didn't stall.
No, fucker, it was gone.
So
what bike was it?
Stalled right
Kawasaki
off of it, motherfucker.
Was that KLR you said?
Yeah, it was a KLR.
KLR.
Oh God!
A lot of low end torque, I guess.
So one of the things I like, John, was toward the end.
It wasn't going to stall anyway.
Toward the end of the film, you got your credits going up and your thank yous and all that stuff. Now, I did screenshot this because I thought this was interesting. You put facts about the film at the very end. I think we need to share these because they're very, very interesting. And
go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so start to finish, it took 12 months to make
almost
this movie.
to the day.
Almost to the day. 12 months.
That was a time commitment too, man.
I didn't think it was going to be that
hours. How many hours you had in editing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be done by July, like early July, but that came and went like that.
Well, you have approximately 1,400 hours of computer editing time.
And that's modest. It was probably more.
Yeah.
Jesus.
80% of the B-roll was filmed in a 4-block square. So this was the area. This was the area we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. 2.5 terabytes of footage, sound, and various data. That would break any Google computer, Brittany.
Hey.
Yeah.
The Diamond Terminator sequence took 2 weeks to edit.
Yeah. A lot of people say that's their favorite part.
Yeah. I tell you what, the music was one of my
How do you get
favorite.
away with that with YouTube with them not
I was wondering
copyrighting
that too because I feel like it just always kicks the videos.
Yeah.
Everybody asks that. Yeah, you can't monetize it. That's just the simple fact.
That's just it.
1,400 hours of computer editing, man. It's sad that you can't, get something back from that, but
1,400 hours. John's taint is beat up from that. Sitting in the computer chair.
Yeah, over a long, that long time scale. Yeah,
That's a lot of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start doing it, you don't realize that I have 1,400 hours ahead of me. It's like I said, I thought I was going to be done by July, and then at first I set out to make a 45-minute film, and then I got close to 45. I'm like, I'm not even close to being done with the story. So I'm like, forget it. Like, it's just going to be what it is. And it ended up being an hour 34.
So, most people would have done like part 1, part 2, part 3. That seems to be like the YouTube thing.
Yes.
You're like, fuck that. I'm throwing 90 minutes at your ass.
Grab some popcorn and a beer.
Yeah.
You're
and
here
I'll
for
tell
a
you
ride.
what, I watched the fucker twice. I mean, it was one of those things where it was just 90 minutes went by quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's kind of like editing too.
cool.
When you get into editing like that, John, doesn't it seem like it just flies by? Like you'll spend 7 hours and it feels like 7 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Because
because you get into a groove, and you don't want to break your stride when you start editing real heavy like that, and then it just seems like it's over before you know it. You're going to bed.
Absolutely. And almost every single night was like 2:30 in the morning going to sleep, and then up at 4:30 for work and then do the whole thing over again. And exactly. You get into a stride and, it's 1 a.m. and it's like, well, I'm on a roll here. I'm in the middle of this dope montage. I got this song that it took me forever to figure out what song I'm going to use. And then, you get lost in it before you know it.
And you're not going to sleep if you leave it. You know what I mean? If you try to walk away from it, you're just going to lay there and think about it.
And that's happened to me before too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I actually get
when I edited, when I edited Big and Heavy and stuff, I always seemed like I wanted to make a goal to get to a certain point before I put it to bed. And then I have a good spot to come back to whenever I go again. Because there's just something that goes on in my brain where I'm thinking, I have to get to this point to make the day make sense of, the time I put into this.
Sure.
And then the next day I'll pick it back up where I left off. Anyway, I'm rambling. There's a couple more facts here that are really, really awesome. With the exception of one flashback shot, all the footage was original, no stock footage at all.
Right.
So the drone shots, the shots wherever you were riding, everything was done by you and your crew.
That's it. All original. Yep. Except for the one shot where Sam snapped his belt. That was the one flashback shot.
Okay.
So what kind of, you don't have to tell us your equipment, but are you using cinema grade cameras or are you using like GoPros and just regular?
Well, for onboard stuff, you have to use GoPro. I guess you could use cinema grade stuff on a bike, but you're putting it in such, harm's way. I dropped the GoPro, I think 3 times while making the film. Yeah. And on the third time, it finally died on me.
So you're using GoPros for most of the footage?
Just for onboard stuff.
Yeah, he's got 2 Sony A-series cameras.
Okay.
1 Red, 1 DJI drone, 3 GoPros, filmed, released in perfect 4K. That was the last fact of
it just goes to show you that, though, the quality that he's pulling out with the production value. I mean, to do that with GoPros and Sony A-series cameras, it's amazing. At least I think it is. You know what I mean?
It absolutely is. Yeah.
The Sony's, because I use my personal rig at the Sony A7S III, which I purposely got that because it has extra large pixels. It has the same. It's still a 35 millimeter sensor, but the pixels are bigger. So actually, when you take a picture with it, it's not going to be as sharp as like a Sony A7 III, which has like 20 something megapixels. Where
it's only like it's like a 12 megapixel or something, isn't it? That
right?
Camera?
Yeah, 12 or like 11 point something.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit softer, but its low light capability is just leaps and bounds beyond anything at that price level on the market. So
and that's what you needed for this film because you shot so much at nighttime.
And all my films, really. I mean, if you think what low light filming is, it's like anything other than direct sunlight. It's kind of what it is. So, and we film primarily at night under street lamps and whatever. It gives that mystery. Plus, we all work jobs, so we don't have all the time.
It has a great look to it. It has a film quality look. You know what I mean? It has that cinematic look. And I hate to use that word because it's so overused on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
But you've really, you nailed it, dude. They're great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
The YouTube compression definitely has its way with everybody's. You could put out with truly Hollywood level stuff, and YouTube is still going to compress the hell out of it. Instagram is even worse, especially with audio. Anything I put up on Instagram, the audio sounds awful, but it is what it is.
What would have been neat though if you would have released this film in a theater, like some private theater or local theater, like if you knew somebody, and actually released it where people could buy popcorn and soda and all that and enjoy the film on the big screen. I think that would be cool. I would watch it. Cool. I would watch it again on the big screen. I think that'd be an experience.
That would be cool. I don't know if I have enough clout. I think Harley would need to get involved in something like that. Where I am, there's a lot of bikers around here, but there's not a lot of bikers compared to somewhere else, like LA or just outside of Phoenix, Miami. You know, it's we don't have that kind of bike scene here.
So
John,
what's next, dude?
What's next?
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Sleep.
I hear you.
We had to wake him up to do this podcast.
I know.
Yeah, right.
I've been doing this thing for a year. I need a break.
So after all this commitment and everything and all the time that you spent and you know the financial portion of it and everything, does your wife fucking hate this bike then?
If you only knew what I spent on it. Yeah. No, she absolutely hates it and hates everything about filming, about motorcycles. I put a little bit of her in like 3 or 4 films ago, just like, enough with Harley-Davidson. I can't take it anymore. But yeah, so she's great. She gives me the latitude I need, and then I try to show her respect by giving her, you know, time, especially like good time, and then I'll take the garbage time at, you know, like after she goes to sleep, and that's when I'll go to work.
So you owed her a vacation after all this was said and done, didn't you?
That's it. We're going to Florida next month. Yep.
There you go. Well, you know, just in case Harley-Davidson's listening, I mean, I don't know if they actually listen to us at all. They probably don't because we say fuck too much. But if they are listening...
Fuck a lot this year.
Look at Tony's hat. Jesus.
I know. Fuck ratios down.
Yeah, if they are listening... Harley needs to get on the ball and hit up John if they actually want to film some real good shit. They need to put John on the payroll and get their production value amped up a little bit.
That would be cool. Definitely. I've been seeing some stuff that they did, like Cycle Fanatics. That guy, I think his name is John as well.
Yeah.
He was involved in a commercial they shot, I think, for the new 122. With the
CVO.
Yes. Yeah. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really well made, but they threw a lot of money at it.
That's what I'm saying, right? Give you a crew, throw a lot of money at you, right? And then give you a crew and make something happen. I mean, that's what we got to see, right? Go get out and pull somebody real in that's doing some amazing shit and get it made, because what you did was fantastic. I mean, your other films, they're all really good, right? But you know, I think what was great about this one is that it was like Dustin said, it was a movie. It's a storyline from beginning to end. It's 90 minutes where you sit down and you get the whole story in one sitting.
I thought it was great.
Yep.
Great. God damn it. I wanted to go tear my bike apart. I was like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of people saying that they want to duplicate it or do something like, what's a good starting point? You know, how much is too much? How did you get those numbers? I'm like, well, a lot of that info is actually in the film. But
you were
going back to
set on it too. When I was watching, you know, you had a strong direction of which way you were going with that motor.
Yeah, the original goal was to hit 140 horse with the dual exhaust, which we found out that it's freaking impossible. It's not impossible, but it's impossible if you want to keep that safety margin. We tried everything, just couldn't do it. You know, maybe
shout out to Panhead Andy too, who must have been incredibly patient, and I guess he wanted. It seemed like he really wanted to see this through. You know, when you see at the end and he gives the numbers, and he's just he's almost like flabbergasted in what he's saying. He's like, "Those are the best numbers I've seen." What did he say, out of a twin cam?
Yes, any twin cam he's ever built and dynoed.
And that guy's been in the game for like 40 plus years, so he's seen a lot of shit.
Right.
So,
right, and it was really cool when he said that, and that whole scene where him and I were talking, he called me up one day. He's like, "Hey, man, you mind if I get on camera and say a few things? Things that we had originally wanted to do, but we had enough footage at that point that I felt like I could finish the film without it." But I was like, "Yeah, come on over." And then we ended up getting some really good shots out of it and good testimony from him. He gets personal with something like this, something that's really out of the ordinary and over the top. That's why he is so patient, is because he takes it so personally, and he really just gets involved, and he's become really a great friend, coming from somebody that I had just met, a few years ago, and we did a couple builds together, and the owner of Prestige allowed me to come in and actually work with Andy on this bike. So we got really close, and I can call him at 11 o'clock at night. Like, dude, something broke. How do I fix it? And he'll stay on the line with me for an hour, or even come to my house and help me fix it. It's really cool.
That is cool.
That's cool.
I mean, I guess you're working on something like that, and you have a goal set, and it would be cool. Yeah, it's cool shit to do.
Yeah. He knows. I mean, there's not. I don't think I've ever asked him a question where he didn't have the answer, and then me being, like a button buck in the industry, and him being this veteran in the industry. I'm thinking like, all right, well, what the hell does he know? That's old thinking, and I'm going to try it this way. I'm going to do something different against what he said. And it's like every single time I've done that, I've been wrong, and it's blown up in my face. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, Andy, you were 100% right. And the experience, it's something you just, you can't win against somebody with that kind of experience. Because they've tried it. I'm not the first person to think of these things. Like, it's been done before, and if it works, it works. If not, at least he knows to tell me like that doesn't work. But go ahead, knock yourself out.
Well, that's where new ideas have to come from, though, right? I mean, if you can get some old wisdom in with new ideas, sometimes you get something you didn't expect. And I think that's what happened here, right? I mean, you had a vision, and he made the vision happen, but prior to that, he'd never done this before. So
this combo, right?
Right. So, I mean, you did have a new vision to get to where you guys, eventually got to. So that's still, that even though, you needed his experience to get there, your vision is kind of what led the way. I mean, I would have said fuck it a long time ago and just got an M8 because.
Yeah, because at this point, I could have gotten a brand new CVO for what I put into this bike.
I was going to say, you could have bought a fucking brand new bike probably a couple times.
How hot does that thing run, John? Because to me, it looks like it's going to burn your foot. It's going to light your right leg on fire.
It's not that bad. It's no worse than it was before in reality. Yeah, like as far as what I feel.
Is it because you're going so fast the heat is actually behind you?
Could be.
Maybe.
I don't know what it is. I mean, if it's tuned properly, it theoretically shouldn't project that much more heat than stock. A lot of that heat should actually just be going right out the pipe.
Yeah. If it's tuned right, yeah.
If it's tuned right, yeah. If it's running really lean, then I would say you're probably feeling a ton of heat off those pipes.
Sure.
You imagine standing on that thing and straddling it at a stoplight in the middle of Phoenix in the middle of summer.
Dude, I can't imagine straddling any
warm. That'd be like Ace Ventura when he's in the Rhino with the underwear. Warm.
Very hot.
Gets hot.
So if you had 1,400 hours in editing, how many hours did you have in form diving?
God, hundreds. Yeah.
I was going to say, you were like fucking Neo in the Matrix in those things, weren't you? Just seeing code at one point.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah, trying to look for anything to get an edge, even in car forums, just anything that had to do with pretty much American motors and people that were really into like pushing it as far as it can go. Yeah, and I think that's where I actually found out about the indexing is like on a Corvette forum. Somebody was talking about it.
Because you can go deep in those forums, man. You can get lost in those things.
I mean, that alone takes like so much patience. Just
because there's a lot of bullshit you got to wade through.
Yeah, you just got to read through so much crap.
Yeah,
sure.
So tune correctly. It's not putting out too much heat. Are you getting more than 6 miles to the gallon?
I don't even know what I'm getting. It's probably like 30, 35. It's really not bad.
Well, that's not terrible.
That's not terrible. I had my bike dyno tuned, and I made it down the street and ran out of gas.
The problem with the gas is that it's like a murdered out bike, and I couldn't find a gas cap with the gauge on it that was in black, except for one that was built for an 08 and up. So, and I'm like, oh, well, I can wire it. I'll figure it out. So anyway, long story short, I thought I figured it out, but I didn't. So the gas gauge reads incorrectly the whole time. So I never know how much gas I have. Ran out of gas once, but that was it. Yeah. But honestly, it gets great gas mileage. It gets better gas mileage than it did before.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because when you're just going, you're only at like 1% throttle, just because there's so much power where you don't need to give it too much throttle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
All right, let's talk about a little bit about music selection, because there was a lot of it. Do you know how much music you used, like how many songs throughout the whole film?
YouTube says that I used 49.
Okay, that sounds about right.
I don't know the exact number. It's probably in the mid 50s, something like that. And almost every single song was altered in some way to make it fit. Almost.
I mean, everything fit. I mean, as far as genre, you were a little bit jumping all over the place, but everything fit with the scene. And I got to tell you what, when I heard As I Lay Dying, I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Because I fucking love As I Lay Dying.
I didn't know anybody was going to pick up on that. Dude, I thought all the As I Lay Dying fans.
I've seen them live. Their drummer is the best drummer I've ever seen.
He is a great drummer. Yeah.
He's so good. Yeah.
And that was old school. That was an old school album from like 02, 01, 02, something like that.
I think it was more like 03 or 4.
Was that? Okay. Did you notice anything about that song?
I'd have to go back and listen again.
So it's actually... It's 2 As I Lay Dying songs that are mashed up.
Okay.
Yeah, I cut right at the end of one verse and I drop in a different As I Lay Dying chorus. And because they were actually recorded at the same tempo, it actually worked perfect.
Well, a lot of their songs, they're like the AC/DC of metal. A lot of their songs sound alike.
They do. Yeah, same chords, same tempo. So it was actually a piece of cake to mash it together, and it worked. It worked for the film. But you don't want to.
He's a sound engineer now too. I mean, out there just filming the shit out of it and just throwing in the great sound.
Yeah, well, I started in music. That's how I got,
there you
into
go.
editing. Yeah, I was a musician, and then I branched off, started doing solo stuff, started recording my own songs, editing my own songs, and then I got into film. So I kind of brought a little of that audio engineering into this. I don't go as in depth, but in depth a bit to try to make it sound good on any type of media playback. It's tough. I mean, like Hollywood, when they do it, it'll sound great on a phone, it'll sound great in your car, and it'll sound great in your home, theater system. But they're performing, almost magic, but they have a team of people working on that exact thing to make it always sound good no matter what you're listening to. So that's what I tried to do. I don't know. I played it in the car and I'm like, there's something weird going on. Something like in the mids, but
well, you can't tell when you watch the movie. I mean, it's your editing is seamless in how you put it together, and that's why I asked if you use a storyboard, because it just
there's good flow.
Way that it just goes from scene to scene, and it just follows this very specific, even the tempo of how you like when you threw in your breaks of when you're adding commentary, obviously are very intentional, because you're explaining kind of what you just did or what the scene was that you see. But even that has the same feel, the same tempo, the same everything just kind of feels the same all the time. And that's that putting it together like that is very aesthetically, it's very pleasing, right? To watch it and to absorb it. It just like, Tony said he watched it twice. I like to say that too. I actually started it, and then I was like, oh shit. Like, I realized that I did not have the time when I started it to finish it. Yeah. And when I like watched like 3 minutes of it, I'm like, no, this is you need to consume all 90 minutes.
I did the same exact thing.
Like I was, like I said, I was like 3 minutes in, and I realized I got to stop now. And then I went back when I knew I had time to sit down and watch the whole thing beginning to end uninterrupted, because I didn't want to break it apart. I just wanted to consume the whole thing at once, and just super impressed, John. I mean, you do great work, but really you highlighted, this amazing build and amazing bike that you built. I mean, it really is something. It really is a performance Cholo, isn't it?
It is. Now, there's been some people have commented, I'd say like less than 1%, that you're not the first. You're not the first one to build a performance Cholo.
Who cares?
Well,
like, this is your build. I hate it when people do that shit.
But they're like, well, you're claiming this. And I'm like, well, I'm not just claiming it without any research done prior to. Like, this, maybe somebody has done it, but they've done it off the record. They've never documented it. Because I made sure that I'm not just claiming something that's already been done, that's already out there for people to find. So, to my knowledge, from a fairly extensive Googling, nobody's ever done a dedicated performance Cholo. Sure. You could argue what is performance. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, a 110 was like the baddest motor on the planet. But now a 110, it's like, all right, I mean, it's dope, but it can't hang with today's performance baggers. It just doesn't have that kind of power.
Well, not only that, but Harley had that, that Screaming Eagle 110, and I think that was it 2016 might have been the last time they put it in a bike, because I think it was in the original Lowrider. They had a Screaming Eagle 110 in the Lowrider before it became the Lowrider S, right? And so that was in a Dyna, and I think they had some 110s in some baggers at the time, but then then a 107, 114, these become stock motors, right? So the M8 has stock motor sizes that are bigger and rolling off the line are, more robust than that 110. So to take a I mean, you didn't take a 110 and build it up to that. You took an 88-inch cubic, an 88 and built it up. So, all of the things that you did are phenomenal. And when you were talking about doing your research, this is what I always say too, is that, it's even like car guys, right? A car guy will build a car and say, well, this is never done. Well, it probably is more likely, like you said, it's just never been documented, right? Because we're in a different age right now, right? What is it? What do they say now, that every 3 months more pictures are taken than since cameras were developed?
Oh, I heard something like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, if you go follow the back in time, so I mean, everything's being documented differently now than it was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and technology changes and all of those things change. So, I mean, has somebody built a twin cam motor and done maybe close to what you did? Well, maybe they have, but maybe they haven't done it with the aesthetic that you were going for, right? I mean, a very, very specific style of motorcycle that is unmistakably, a Cholo bike. When you look at it, you're not going to be like, oh, well, that's a drag bike that he put high bars on. No, it's not, right? It has a very specific aesthetic, and that's what I fully appreciated about it, because I was like, okay, it's kind of like the sport bike guys right now are feeling a little bit butthurt because some of the baggers that you see in the bagger racing leagues, some of the numbers, the track numbers that they're getting out are really, really, really fucking close to what these guys are doing on the leader bikes. I mean, they're right there now. And so, and it's madness because the bikes weigh 3 times as much as those sport bikes do, right? And so, we know that stuff is out there, but you said it in your movie, right? Besides that, you very specifically did it this style, this motor, this bike, and did these things. And so, if somebody's like, oh, well, my cousin did that again, right? 12-inch cock. We can go all the way back to that.
Or HD Forms is known. Everything is my buddy. I'm asking for my buddy. Like, well, doesn't anybody ask for themselves?
Right. Exactly.
But, and then there's the argument that, okay, you could take a Cholo and drop an SNS 124 crate motor in it, and then you could call that a performance Cholo. But is it truly a performance Cholo, or is it just a straight line, monster? Because if you didn't do any other chassis mods to make it performance oriented, then is it truly, a well-rounded performance bike? There's that argument.
Well, and everybody's going to argue, your performance baggers are going to be like, well, the bike's too low. It's never going to corner. It's never going to, But again, I go back to, like what you said, you're following a specific aesthetic, and Cholo bikes are not out there ripping the canyons. That's not that's not what their design, that's not the design of that motorcycle, because you're right. If you were out there ripping the canyons, you're going to drag your bikes, you're going to drag your floorboards. All of that's going to happen. And so that defining factor of a very specific aesthetic is it follows, you followed all the lines. I mean, so I don't know if you've ever do you show any of your bikes? Have you brought any of them? I know one of them you did, right?
Yeah, of course I show them. Yeah, I bring them to shows. Local shows, I bring them to, I was at Daytona earlier this year. I brought the Softail. Yeah. Basically just because the Road King wasn't done yet. And that thing was all over the place. I left probably 2 miles of burnouts in Daytona on that Sawtail. Yeah. And then I go to Laconia. I try to go every year.
Nice.
And Laconia's dope, but it's always, the weather is always garbage up there. It's it's June and it always rains. We were supposed to go this year, but it just got totally rained out for the 100th year. Which was such a shame. But and then we went to Myrtle a couple years ago, also garbage weather for May in South Carolina. I couldn't believe it. We're talking like 40 something degrees. I made a film on that, so it was real. Like the pain was real on the way home. 40 something degrees, like in South Carolina in May.
People are dying at that temperature in South Carolina.
Yeah, like the iguanas are falling out of the trees, right?
Right. Old people can't take that kind of weather when they go to retire there.
So, John, did you have any? Do you have any inkling to paint the bike?
So it is painted. Yeah, I didn't really touch on it too much.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did have it painted. It was, if you look really closely, you'll notice it's not just gloss black. It's actually gloss black and flat black. And the flat black, it's on every piece, except for in some shots, the front fender. Never mind the front fender. But yeah, the tank, the side covers, the bags, the rear fender, they all have flat black designs into it because I wanted it. You know how like you get a black bike and it looks a certain way during the day and then it actually sort of looks differently at night under night lights. Mm-hmm. So when you have a satin black, it actually reflects the light a whole lot more at night. And it actually looks really cool. So I wanted to kind of capitalize on that, where I would have the light reflect and just sort of accent the lines of the bike. And it actually seemed to work really well. However, I scratched the shit out of the tank, like right out of the gate. I dropped my brass master cylinder cover. I was doing some brake work. I was putting those Willwoods on, and I had the master cylinder cover loose, and I banged into the bars by accident, and it dropped on the tank. So it sucked. But so I'm gonna have it redone this winter, and I might.
I like how you stay. I like how you stayed with black. I mean, there's a lot of people when they do builds like this. Usually they go all out with the colors. You know, they got eye popping, head turning, neck cracking colors on it. And I'm a fan of black. I got a black bike myself because I think it's a timeless color. There's fads that come and go with color, but black is always going to be black. You know, it's in a league of its own as far as colors go. But you know, when I've looked at like some of the Cholos we've got in my dealership I work at, you know, usually they're like the hard candy customs colors that they put out in like 15, or the dragonfly green was one of my favorites I've seen on a Softail Deluxe. But no, dude, I like what you did with it as far as the color. Bravo on the black.
Thank you. Yeah, I know black is so cliche, and you know, it was funny. My brother had just had. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, "Yo, nice shoes." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, they're new." He's like, "I tried experimenting with different colors," and he's like, "But," he's like, "Let's get real. Black always looks dope." So, anyway, black, and then the gold accents, which, you know, the gold brass. It's basically the same thing. And it has a nice look. I think gold might be kind of getting towards the end of its reign. I think people are going to start to get played out of gold. So I might have just caught the very end of it. But, you know, I was also thinking about, instead of the gold, what if I did like a machined aluminum? I think that's a really cool look. Kind of like a raw machined aluminum. But at this point, I'm kind of invested in the gold, so I might as well just keep going.
For sure. Now, we do have Discord questions / comments for Mr. John. I think we had some extras in the bucket. We've been out a couple of weeks, everybody, and we're sorry, but we'll try to get to all those questions, including the ones for John, on this show. And everybody, next week it will be our last show of 2023. So it'll be a wrap-up show. The 5 of us, hopefully Dave should be back from the Congo, getting fondled by gorillas. But yeah, look for the last show of 2023, next recording next week.
Yeah. For sure.
Should be fun. A little reflection time.
Yeah. Brittany, you want to read Moto Mortician's?
Yeah, I was just pulling those up. So yeah, the first one is from Moto Mortician. He says, that build is nuts. It was an awesome film. The joke question is, how much bigger are his balls now?
He's actually standing during this show.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge. They're huge.
They're huge, yeah.
If you're questioning how big a man's balls are, it's because you already know they're huge.
Could be. It could be.
Balls or a wallet? How much? How empty is your wallet?
Yeah, you got back problems sitting on that fucker.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, at the start. All right, we got one from Deep Freeze Bob. That movie was amazing. I'm glad he put in there that he too had problems while building, aka stripped, broken bolts, etc. That is a good point. You put in all the growing pains and all, every piece of drama that could have gone into building this thing. You left it all out there on the film, and I think that's great because people got to know these things don't always go flawlessly.
And I hate watching motorcycle films where everything goes perfectly smooth because that's not real.
Right.
Especially on bikes. There's always things that go wrong, parts that don't fit, bolts that strip, just stuff that needs tweaking in order to make it work. Like, that's real life. And if you take that away, people can't relate to the content nearly as much. Or it's one of those things where you just love to hate it. Like, the way everybody watches Kardashians, they're obsessed with it, but they love to hate on it just because fuck them.
Yeah. It's like TikTok and the hate watching, right? There's a whole algorithm designed around hate watching.
Hate watching. Okay, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like if you get some grown man, he's like, how come all these stupid fucking dance videos keep coming up on my TikTok? And we're like, because you hate watch that shit, dude. Because you do watch it and it knows your algorithm. You're hate watching.
Hate watch just to make sure that you like really hate it.
Yeah, exactly. I just watched 47 hours of dance videos. I hate this shit.
Bob also says, all the while that you're balancing family, work, life, etc. Also, thanks for showing that older engines can make power. Also, I don't know if I missed it or not, but did he change anything in the transmission?
No. So it didn't touch the transmission at all, except for the red line fluid, which we now run. That was an Andy thing. He said, just make sure you use red line because you're going to shock the shit out of this transmission. But I did extensive research on that old 5-speed transmission. And according to my research, they're a lot stronger than the 6 speeds, and they can take 150 horsepower. I think I read that exact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So no need for a Baker grudge box then is what you're trying to say.
I mean, you could, I guess, if you're just going to do nonstop like track launches, but yeah, I mean, you could still get probably a few thousand miles out of it. Sure. I'm expecting to get many thousands of miles before this thing gives me any signs of problems. So yeah, okay. No transmission work.
Okay.
John
rides hard too.
Yeah, John
he rides
does.
fucking hard.
Believe it or not, so I mean the transmission, all that stress. The second that tire slips, that's it. All that stress is relieved.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next one is from John Doe. He says, "What was the if you feel like sharing?" I'll preface with that. He says, "What was the approximate cost for just the engine parts and labor?" And then he also
you can leave out the helmet stuff.
Then he also says, "Do you agree that Ruroc sucks?"
Wait, do I agree?
Jake the Garden Snake
Ruroc
said it does. Did you guys watch Jake the Garden Snake's video?
No.
Go watch that.
So yeah, I guess if you feel like throwing a number out there, if you remember what it is, you can. Otherwise, you can also
could you have purchased a truck?
Off.
What is it?
Could you have purchased a truck, John?
A used truck, yeah. But I mean, like just the engine stuff, less than 20.
Okay.
But approaching.
I was going to say maybe a used F-150. It's big dollars.
Yeah, it definitely costs money. Like everybody just looks at what the cylinders cost for a big bore kit, but you're just scratching the surface with cylinder cost. You know, if you just look at that, it looks like it's $1,200. Oh, I got myself a big bore kit. But I mean, just your cam chest alone is going to be $2,000.
Right.
You know, if you get the best of the best.
Right.
So
it adds up fast.
Really fast. And then labor, you know, but because we knew that this was going to be such a big project, I worked it out with Prestige and we just came up with a number that we were both happy with. And yeah. So
that's good. Yeah. Well, I think that, everybody forgets that, many things in the motorcycle world are still relationship based. And if you
Definitely.
develop a good relationship with, people that you've done work, and, you're not out there just holding out your hand, wanting a handout, right? I think that you find yourself in situations like you're in now, where you've done business, you're going to continue to do business, and they're, like you said, we both agreed on a number that was going to be fair for everybody. And that's the most important thing, right? If you're, the price, the cost of anything is what, they always say, well, what's it worth to you? Well, what are you willing to pay? Right? Because It might be that number is different for every single person. Somebody who says it's a hobby, or somebody who is riding the piss out of their bikes. I mean, for me, I rode 11,000 miles last year. So, a mod on my bike that's going to make it more comfortable or more reliable, or that's just going to make me like it more or make me feel cooler when I'm riding 11,000 miles, it's probably worth it for me. So what would you say is your favorite mod that makes you feel cool? For me, I think I don't know about make me feel cool, but I would say when I put a cam in my bike, because everybody knows the M8 sounds, just the stock M8 sounds like a sewing machine. And when I put a cam in the bike, and it really changed it to more of that loping potato sound, it made the motor a little bit, it woke it up. It makes it feel a little bit more angry. It delivers the power in the range where I ride most of the time. So when I'm on, the interstate, and I'm going 65 and I want to go 90 to pass a car, like I'm on top of it right away. You know what I mean? I'm not racing anybody light to light. I mean, I have a Road King special, so I'm out, riding and putting on miles. So it delivers a power. I think that part, because, when you pull in someplace, or you start your bike or whatever, and it just sounds, it's not so loud that you can't hear yourself think or talk, but it gives you that, that feeling that you really wanted. I mean, when I sat my fob down on the seat and the fob fell off on the ground because the bike was, kind of shaking and vibrating like you would expect it to do. I think that was probably the mod for me that like gave me that feeling, like, you know what I mean? Other than, just the idea of that you're, ripping around on a Harley. There's always something cool about that. But that was probably for me the mod that I would say probably made me feel cool, I guess. I don't know if that's a good word for it, but
I think it's a perfect word for it. I mean, that's what I'm selling in the films, is cool and badass. Not to say that I'm really either one, but that's my angle. It's like, well, this will make you feel badass. This will make you feel cool. And it makes me feel badass, makes me feel cool, when I'm rolling up like this and crazy loud pipes. I mean, it's a feeling. If you tell people, it's like, well, this is the feeling that you're most likely going to get. People, they love hearing that. They want that. They want to feel badass. They want to feel cool. And
then when you're ripping through the neighborhood at night that looks like you're going to get shot in, it makes you feel even more cool.
Right. Because it's like, you got that. Right. And, the way we shoot things, we make it seem like really hood, really street. But we're talking like, this is central Westchester. It's,
I think my favorite shots of the entire thing that you filmed were
the police pulling them over.
No. The gas station shots. So
okay.
Tony loved those.
Yeah, it was like when somebody's standing. Yeah, because Tony spends all his time at the gas station. Because it was like you were standing across the street, but I could hear the conversation just like it was happening. Right. And so it's like, there's two bikes, they're parked at a gas station. To me, like, that was the most relatable thing of the whole thing. You're like you're waiting for somebody to come. They don't fucking show up. You're like, man, fuck this guy. We're just going to leave. Like, all of that. I was like, we've all felt that way. We've all felt that way sitting at a gas station, waiting for somebody to show up that doesn't show up. Like, that was my favorite part of that entire thing because it was the most relatable, the most thing to hit home. And then you guys just like tore out of there, and I was like, and that's what it feels like, you know, when you're like with your buddies and you fucking tear out of a gas station, you're just like 1 bike, 2 bike, 3 bike, 4 bike, you know what I mean? You could just imagine some dude sitting across the street like fucking flipping you off because you just rattled the windows in his car as you took off. Like that, to me, that was the coolest shot of the whole movie. But only because like those of us that are motorcyclists and those of us that are enthusiasts, we've all felt that way. We've all been there. We've all pulled out of a gas station or waited for some fucker that didn't show up or, you know, whatever. And I'm just using the term fucker. I'm not saying everybody that doesn't show up is a fucker, but, you know, like we're just, you know, to me, like that one resonated. That scene resonated. Like, it's like I want to take a still shot of that scene and put that picture on my wall. Because that makes that spot in the show, that scene, that makes the most sense. That's a picture in my head to me.
Well, he's got it in perfect 4K.
Mm-hmm. So in my mind, that's exactly what I was trying to push. And the whole thing was a skit. We weren't really waiting for somebody.
Oh yeah, I get it.
You know, and the you could hear me. It was shot from across the road. You could hear me because if you look really, really carefully, you'll see me holding my helmet, and the microphone was sitting in the helmet. But we had to shoot that scene probably like close to 10 times because something would happen. We would start the bikes. One time I forgot to put my kickstand up, and I dragged it, and it just looked like amateur. And then a car would come, and then we'd have to be sitting there waiting. We just wanted it to be like a clean pull out. You know, kick it out a little bit sideways and just out. And, you know, something would always go wrong, but, you know, we finally nailed it. And, but yeah, it was a skit. Sam was on board. I didn't want to do it alone. It's always cooler when you have somebody else with you.
Right.
Especially for a clean pullout.
Especially for a clean pullout.
I was waiting for one of you to make that joke.
You were thinking it first, eh?
No, well, and if you were standing there just talking to yourself, John, then it becomes a little bit weird, right?
Then it becomes weird. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
fuck is this guy?
It was really, who the fuck is this guy? No, it was good.
A couple people told me they're like, yeah, that was the one scene that kind of dragged a little bit, but
no,
you know, dude, I'm glad you said that it was like your favorite part.
Absolutely, it was my.
If it was only one scene, I mean, come on.
That's so you get like 50 minutes into a film and it's like, all right, everything has been crazy fast paced. It's like, you think I can get away with like a 1 minute kind of slower part?
Absolutely. Take a breath. Yeah. No, I loved it. It was my favorite thing. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. Pucker up, motherfucker.
Right.
Okay. There's a comment here from Tuna that his name is Tuna. We can all probably chime in on. And actually, me and Ryan just talked about this on the phone, I think, late last week. Oil changes. How many miles do you actually go in between changes? Once a season, regardless of miles, if you store your bike for the winter, do you change at the beginning or end of season? John, do you have an end of season? Is there like a definite no-go to riding, or does it just depend on the weather?
Yeah, weather. Yeah, I never truly put it away for the winter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like a brand new motor, I'm going to change oil a lot, like maybe 5 times before I finally put in that synthetic, just to really flush out any little grits, you know, from putting the engine together. And then, you know, you get your rings, they're embedding into your cylinders and they're just scraping and putting out little chunks. I just want to make sure everything's out of there. So yeah, I'll just do conventional oil, a few changes, and then finally go to synthetic.
Okay. Did you stay on a regular interval after that of every 5 or?
Yeah, closer to like probably 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah. It kind of depends what I'm doing. If I'm really beating the shit out of a motor, then yeah, more like 2.
Okay.
You know, or even like if you like when I went to Daytona, like that's rough riding. Even if you're not beating on it, just idling in that parade traffic, that parades. If you guys have ever been on Main Street in Daytona, you're just idling and idling. And I'm watching the oil temp get like 290. Like that's going to eat up any oil.
Right.
So, there's like no viscosity left to it. It's just, so yeah.
Sure. Well, there you go.
Bernie, what say you?
We just mostly follow the regular like service interval. I don't remember what it is when you get like a new bike. I've never had mine be brand new, I guess. So we generally, I think it's every 5,000.
Yeah.
I know Jared's bike was new enough that he had to go through like the break-in period where you have to like ride it easy for a little bit, change the oil, and do all that stuff. But yeah, we just follow the regular maintenance.
Yeah. Ryan?
I have a riding season of about 6 months, so I change mine twice typically during that season, depending on the number of miles. So I usually start with fresh oil at the beginning of the season. I'll change it halfway through, and then I'll do like a winter change. So usually like 3 times a year, but usually twice during my season when I'm riding, I'll change it. But that's what works for me because I know how I ride and I know, the miles typically that I'm going to put on. And so that's what makes sense for me. So, and whatever miles that kind of falls into, like if I, say I change at the beginning of the season, then for whatever reason in my first month and a half, I put 5,000 to 7,000 miles on or something right away, then I'll change it sooner. You know what I mean? It just depends on the riding that I have and what I have planned in the season. Last year we did 5 big trips, so I changed it. I started with fresh oil in the beginning of the season. I changed it mid-season, and now I'll change it before the season starts again. So,
I mean, you're better off to change your oil more frequently if you're riding a lot than to like let it sit.
Than less.
Because your oil is like, this is probably a terrible way to say it, but I mean, it's kind of like the blood in your body. Like you need that oil to maintain your motorcycle. So,
well, even if you're only riding 1,000 miles a season, you should still change it once a season. You know what I mean?
I usually don't let old shit. If I've ridden, if I'm anywhere close to that 5,000 mile interval, I'll dump it. Or usually, regardless, I'll dump it at the end of the season. That way, there's fresh stuff in there all winter. But like John, it depends on weather because last 12 months I've ridden every month, multiple days. Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
We're just not getting the snow that we used to here 25 years ago.
Sure,
for sure.
Yeah.
Like right now, the only thing that's keeping me from riding right now is the fucking deer.
Oh yeah,
I've had 3 close calls, 2 on a bike and 1 in a car, and I'm not rolling the dice anymore, dude.
Risk. Yeah.
No. I mean, it's pitch black when I leave. It's pitch black when I leave work, and it's 40 minutes ride home through country roads.
Yeah.
So,
Jared used to have to drive during that, like the dusk and dawn, and he hit too many animals during those times. It's like it's just not worth risk it. Stay in your car so that you know what I mean. Your car might be fucked up, but at least you're not dead.
Well, John, have any of you ever hit an animal, a live animal, while riding a bike?
No, I haven't.
I hit a butterfly.
Well, other than bugs, I guess.
Right here on the helmet too. It went pop. It was like a
We've
ball.
had some close calls with birds.
Oh
where, like a bird swoops.
What about
down,
took off with Tony a couple years
shit.
ago? We thought a fucking vulture was going to take off with Tony a couple years ago riding in Kentucky.
No shit.
That thing had a 10-foot wingspan. It was huge.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I have hit a bird.
Have
riding.
you?
Yeah. It was a small bird. It was like a blackbird, crow, or something like that. It wasn't big.
It doesn't take much, though.
Too. No.
I mean, if you can hit a bumblebee, that's real pain.
Fucking hurts, yeah.
Especially at highway speed.
Yeah, some of the June bugs and stuff, if they hit you in the right spot, like hit your hand, your knuckles or whatever, some of those, they hurt.
I was telling Ryan on the phone last week, they were putting fresh rock on the roads here on this country road that goes right out of town here. And there was cars in the other lane riding over that rock, and they shot a bunch of them up and hit me in the leg. I thought I got hit with a buckshot. It was that painful.
Oh, yeah. It'll hurt.
I had 3 layers on, too.
Can you guys, let me see if you guys can see this. That's how close I got to a buffalo.
That's terrifying.
Is that at speed or were you stopped?
No, that's at speed. I was going around. That's a corner right there I was going around. I went around the corner and he was standing right there. I'm 4 feet from him.
That thing's so close. He could have launched a turret at you.
Picture? Was it on a GoPro?
It was on a GoPro. That's a still shot from a GoPro. Yeah, it was. We were in the North Dakota Badlands, and so there's free range there, and so there's, I don't know, maybe 500 head of buffalo that are in there, and we were riding through the park, and just motherfucker was standing right there on the side of the road. So, you know, I mean, that's why I always bring extra underwear on trips, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Here's another good question. Chris Aurora Co. I don't know if that's supposed to be Colorado, but he asks, when you go out for a ride, how long does it take you to get going? Sometimes it takes me forever, and I am in and out of the garage a few times. Did I let the dogs in? Did I turn off the coffee pot? Forgot earplugs. Crap, I need to go to the bathroom again. So on and so forth. John, what do you think? Are you?
I mean, are we talking about like bikes already idling and warming up, or
let's say you're going out for a ride, whether it be to Daytona again or for an all day thing? Is it usually a process for you, or is it just get on and go?
I'm kind of the same way as that dude. Like, I'm in and out of the house like 20 times before I actually leave the house.
Yeah, you're like thinking of all the stuff you have to grab or put on, and you think you have it, and every time you leave the fucking garage or, you know, leave the house to go to the bike, you're like, oh shit, I gotta go back and get this.
Yep. Yeah.
Every time.
Extra battery for my vape, or I forgot my hat when I take my helmet off.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause we're gonna have lunch, and my hair's gonna be black. Just every little thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How's that like with you and Jared, Brittany?
It's the same. I mean, there's some stuff, right, where you kind of have a routine. But, like, the number of times that I always wear or ride with earplugs in. And the number of times that I forget to put the earplugs in, get my fucking helmet on all the way. And this was when I had glasses, too. So, like, you know what it's like? You're, like, jamming your fucking head in. You get all your glasses on and everything. And then you're like, God damn it. I forgot the earplugs. You got to take everything off. But, I mean, we kind of have, like I throw a vest on or a jacket on every time. So there's like some stuff inside where you kind of like, I don't know, you like get all your shit on and then go out and then take off, and it's pretty quick. But there's a lot of times where I feel like we forget something, or like you leave your phone inside or something stupid.
Sure. And you guys all live kind of like in that corridor, right? Beneath Illinois, right? Like Kentucky. Is that where you guys are?
Yeah, I'm in Kentucky. Tony's in Kentucky as well.
I'm in Illinois. Ryan's in North Dakota. And Dave, which I don't know if you've met Dave or not. I don't think Dave was on the show the last time you were on, but he's from Virginia.
Think so.
He's from, was it West Virginia? Or Virginia?
I always get it
Virginia.
mixed up.
He's in Virginia, not West Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia.
Okay.
I had it right the first time. We're spread. We're spread all over, but we're kind of like Midwest over.
Sure. So I mean, but you guys know about inland type of like continental weather, where you could have a nice, real warm summer day, and all of a sudden that sun goes down. It's 8 p.m. You know, even in August, and
depending on the time of day,
it's getting chilly, especially at any kind of speed. If you're going through backcountry roads, like it gets chilly quick. If you don't have a sweatshirt, I mean, I get cold quickly. So I'm always looking. You know, you're talking about getting ready for a ride. Like, that's what I'm thinking about, too. Like, am I going to be out past dark? Am I going to need a sweatshirt?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, we have a lot of, like, it's the trees. Like, in the back roads, when you kind of go in and out of the trees, it like what you're saying, say it's like 5 o'clock in the evening on a summer day. It's still bright out, you know, lots of sun, but when you get into those trees, it starts to cool off a lot.
Oh, when you hit those dips and there's a creek at the bottom,
and
the temperature drops like 15, 20 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Is nice.
Yeah, I have like basically like a kit, because I know I'm like you, John. I don't stay warm. I get cold really easy, and I live in North Dakota, so it's cold as fuck here. And there's at least a month and a half at the beginning of the riding season and a month and a half at the end of the riding season that I wear heated gear on every ride. And so I've been known up here to wear heated gear in, June, right? Or in September, because we still have really, pretty cold weather. I'll ride, I've ridden into the 20s, but I'm talking, I've got heated pants on, a heated jacket, heated gloves, all of that stuff wired directly into my bike so I can just plug it in and I get all day heat. So, but I have like a kit, like I know, okay, this time of year, if I know I'm riding and I'm going to be out for 6 hours and the sun's going to go down, I got to have this jacket and these gloves, and I throw it on my bike and make sure it's all there. So sure. I think I've done enough like variety of trips, short trips, day trips, camping, all that kind of stuff, that I kind of like have a kit that I know this is what I have to bring today. This is what I have to bring. 'Cause I find that if I didn't do that, I found every reason to not ride and say, oh, well, I got to put this on. I got to do this. I got to do this. It's too much work, right? Well, if you just get it down to this is what I need. And so it becomes less of a hassle and more of a, you're really making a point to get out and ride, Brittany, it can't be windy. It can't be too hot. It can't be too cold. It can't be cloudy. It can't be too sunny. Right? That gives you like 7 days a year to ride, right, Brittany?
That's not true at all. But I do not run, like I know Dave will ride his bike everywhere. Like that's all he takes his bike primarily to do anything and everything. He was just riding in
South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. I'm not one of those people. Like if I have to run an errand, I'm not fucking getting all the shit on and going on my motorcycle, because usually it's like, hey, I just want to run to the fucking store and grab something. And it's kind of a hassle to like throw all your shit on and take the bike. So I won't do it for that stuff.
But what if it's perfect conditions to go just run to the store and grab something?
She's not doing it.
No, you're probably not doing it.
Okay.
I mostly like I'm more one of those people that, like, I'm going out on the bike to ride on the bike. I don't like to be in town usually. I like to just go out on the highways and, like, be out for a little while. And it's kind of like that relaxing, I don't know, hobby type thing.
With as many trips as you guys make to get lube, you should probably just take your bike from time to time, Brittany.
Amazon delivers.
Yeah, what makes you think we leave the house? We just order Amazon.
Well, you said it, not me.
So I got a great idea for Brittany for next year, maybe the year after, since we have Sturgis next year. Visit every Adam and Eve on your bike in North America.
That would be funny.
You should get receipts.
Well, you need to just take a picture in front of one of them and just like, do the finger point up to the sign and the little selfie.
You went back to Nebraska for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Did you visit that jerk-off palace on the way home that was in Wadesville?
No, that's not on the way, by the way.
Well, you never know. You got a detour. You take the long way home.
Did you notice, Dustin, straight away she's like, that's not in the way. That's way out of the way. She knew straight away that it wasn't that direction.
She's got it pinned. She's got it pinned on her Google phone.
I would find one closer if I was going to go to one of those. We take the fucking interstate straight over to Nebraska. Why would I detour 3 hours south?
It's a pin in her phone, Dustin, right when it gets in, like when your phone tells you you're going home after work. Hers just pops up to the jerk-off palace.
What was the name of that place? I can't remember.
That was in.
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think. All I remember
is it was between the tattoo shop and the Baptist church.
Oh God.
Yeah, right in the cleavage of two other establishments.
We picked this. Well, I sent these guys. Like, was it 2 years ago?
2 years
ago, our meetup was in Missouri. It was in Uranus/Waynesville, Missouri. And we had a trip that we took like a few months prior to
it was
the
like
event,
in April.
just to, like,
it was in April.
March or April, yeah.
It was still like in the 30s in the morning. Me and Dave were riding. Yeah.
And I was like, let's do an Airbnb, because I don't know. We had, some friends come with and stuff. And so there was probably like 6 or 7 of us. I'm like, it would be so much fucking cheaper if we do an Airbnb. So the one that I picked out, I sent to these guys, but you know how they are. They didn't look at this shit in advance.
It was fucking Ed Gein's house. I mean, it was literally a murder house.
This house had... It was like this guy, his wife had passed away, and he just left the house exactly how it was. And then he built like a big garage
pubic hair and all in the shower.
In the back, and he just lived in the back. But I swear, like, it was all this weird decorations and stuff.
Yeah, who stuffs a walleye and puts the head on the wall? It looked like
it was really weird.
It was the angriest glory hole you've ever seen.
But you know what? As much shit as you guys give me for picking that Airbnb, how many fucking stories have you told now? Because
we've got a million stories. Because I mean, Dave came out of the bathroom and he was like, I'm fairly certain that wad of pubic hair was moving in the shower.
He thought it was mine.
Yeah, because your hair was really long then. And he was like, Dustin, did you just take a shower? And you were like, no. And Dave's like, oh god. He's like, there's a ball of pubic hair in there that looks like it's moving around. Gross. Yeah, this place was, and it was like it was a supposed to be a safe place because it was fenced in, right? Because it had like a fence for the driveway or whatever. But literally, we drove in there and there was like a Baptist church, this just jerk off palace, and a tattoo shop, and they were all in a line.
Liquor store, I think.
And and a liquor store, and we had to drive by all of them, and we were like, "What fucking neighborhood?"
It was like the only thing on that street was just. It was like church.
Yeah. and then we did have a problem like with the internet or something. So he comes over to fix it and he stands in this living room. We're all like sitting there. It's like 9:00 at night. He just stands in there talking to us for like an hour and a half. We're like,
he was trying to fix the internet, wasn't he?
We're like, motherfucker, you gotta go. You gotta go right now.
The best part was when Dave was so fucking fed up with this guy that he couldn't figure out the internet. And the old guy, Dave's like, I work in tech. I know how to fix this. And the old guy was like, well, yeah, I know things about tech. I've fixed this before.
Yeah,
he had no fucking clue what he was talking about.
I have a VCR. I know about tech.
Yeah.
We're like, just restart the fucking modem and the internet will work. And he's like, well, I thought I did that. You just push this button. We're like, oh my God. You're too old. You shouldn't even have internet.
This is Nebraska?
No, this was in Waynesville, Missouri.
We'll send you the listing. You can book. Hey, don't take the wife. Hey, don't take the wife to Florida. Take her to Missouri.
There we go. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you guys, what's with the Uranus thing? Is that a real? Because you guys
it's a real location.
Yeah, it's a real place.
There's two of them now. There's 2 Uranuses now. There's one in Indiana. There's one in Missouri. The original one is in Missouri.
And they usually get their own zip code whenever they build one of these. It's like a little mini mall kind of thing, and they get their own zip code, so they can justify it on a map like it's a separate town, basically. And so there's a spot called Uranus, Missouri now. And so it was a running joke for like almost a year when we were having our meetup. I mean, every podcast we made some joke about it. So.
Yeah, I saw a lot of your Instagram posts. Everything was like Uranus this, Uranus that.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
With this Uranus thing.
Yeah, that's real. What it is.
Packing a lot of fudge.
I mean, if you ever, if you really do want your wife to never do bike shit with you ever again, you could say that you're gonna take her on a bike trip to Uranus, and she'll be like, "I'm fucking out. I am done."
Right.
Yeah. She'll draw the line right there.
Stay at Ed Gein's and have fun in Uranus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good meetup there.
John, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Give them all your socials, all your stuff, so people know where to find you.
Well, don't bother on Facebook because I'm just Facebook is just dead.
Yeah.
So Instagram and YouTube, it's just J.E.T. Film.
Okay, there you go.
Well, I'm sorry. Technically, it's J.E.T. Film.
Yes. Yeah.
But you'll find it either way.
So get out there, give him a follow, watch his shit. I mean,
go watch his video. Go watch this video. Yeah.
Go watch this video, the movie, right? Whatever you want to call it. I mean,
yes.
it's fucking amazing, right? Thank you again, John, for coming on. You're always a good guest, man. It's always a great time having you on.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time. I wish I had more energy. I worked like 13 hours today. So, but it was fun.
Wait to come on the show afterwards.
Bike shit is expensive, man. You gotta stay on the grind and pay off the bike shit, man.
You know it. Yeah, it was a good time. It was great seeing you guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, man. And anytime you got something going on, you let us know. We'll get you on. It's always fun to have you on.
Will do.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode of Five Dirty Bikers Podcast. Like I mentioned before, next week will be our final episode of 2023, and we'll be probably just reflecting on the year. If Dave's back, I'm sure he'll be talking about his trip to South Africa, because I think he rented the Sport Glide and took it for a little ride. So we'll probably get his thoughts on that and thoughts on the whole year. It was a crazy one.
It was.
Another year of podcasting about to fold up. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for spending the time. Join the Discord. It's fucking free. 5dirtybikers.com. Go buy merch. Buy something for your loved one for Christmas.
Keep it dirty.
Keep it dirty.